Okay, then let's get started. Welcome to our working group meeting. Let's go over the items from last time. FIPS validation. Dave is also joining, very good. So Dave proposed to release the log after the test execution so that the pipeline is always re-triggered with new commits. So I simply added a few try blocks around the job definitions. And now indeed, everything is green, so mission accomplished. But not quite. Of course, the test tasks are still red, but nevertheless, the pipeline is now always triggered whenever there is a new CF deployment release candidate. So for each candidate, we have a fresh deployment and then run the smoke and cats tests. Hi, Dave. So the tests are just at this very moment running with the latest released CAPI 170, I think. And now again, we get a different error message, so that error message with the build pack folders in the temp directory, these are now gone. And instead, we see again staging failed. And I think this is just a few minutes old. I think somewhere here we have now the next problem in the stagings controller. I think it chooses the MD5 algorithm here, probably due to the communication with the Diego API. So somewhere here, either it is still MD5 from the other side, or somehow this construction here chooses the wrong algorithm. Okay, we'll analyze in more detail as soon as possible and then try to assign the next issue. Cats are still running, but they show the same problem. I'm just wondering why they take so long, but it's the same. It's also staging failed with the same error message. Yeah, but okay, still we're making progress. Okay, now they're finished. Let me just check the number of, well, it's 14 passed. Before it was 8 or 7.
Okay.
Okay. I don't know which one passed now that failed before. But okay, so likely something in the Diego release still needs to be adapted. I'll try to find that out tomorrow. Then let's leave this pause for now so I can analyze. And any questions regarding FIPS?
Yeah. Why is the job green when the task is going red?
Because I've added a try before the
A try.
build
Okay.
plan or whatever this is called in Concourse. Yes, this ensures that the job always succeeds. And so the deployment is deleted and cleaned up everything, and it can automatically rerun with the latest release candidate. So really all I've done is added a few tries.
Okay. That makes sense. I think an alternative to the try that I've seen more often used is an on failure hook that would release the lock but still let the job go red. If you don't want to click through every time, that could be an alternative.
It would, but if the job is red, it wouldn't trigger the delete deployment downstream job.
True. It would not. Yeah.
Yeah, so
We would have to
try
put it
it better.
into
It's
an
just that
after.
we don't have more colors here. It's green, so yeah. But okay, this is certainly good enough.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted that to be manual, because like right now it releases the lock. Well, I guess it doesn't release the lock until you unpause that job.
That's right. The lock is
Yeah,
not released now because I want to check the deployment and
right.
the cloud controller logs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when I'm done, I would unpause the job and then we can wait for the next
Right. I mean,
release candidate.
to tack onto what Carsten suggested, then if that delete deployment job didn't have any pass constraints, if it was just a freestanding job, it wouldn't trigger automatically. You could trigger it manually, but then if it did pass, it wouldn't trigger automatically. And so, yeah, it's a question of at this point not expecting it to pass. Maybe that's an easier way, and that way you can see that the job is red and you know it's failed.
Yeah, yeah.
And then when it gets to the point of it passing more consistently, you could reconfigure it this way, back to the normal way.
I mean, right now we are observing this closely.
Yeah.
And once it is green, then we can remove the tries again to make sure that when there are regressions, the jobs really turn red. So that's the idea.
Yeah,
so,
for sure. Yeah, I think it's just different optics of whether you care that the job is green from the outside or not.
I think this is really good enough for the moment. The main thing is that we can identify all issues and list them here, and then slowly, gradually, we are improving, and eventually we have a successful push, and then the main work should be done.
Yeah.
Okay. Windows 2016 stack is simply removed and released as a major release. I did not hear any kind of feedback. So I hope this is fine for everyone. Bosch bootloader. So in our update infrastructure jobs, we are always using the latest Bosch bootloader. No, the one that is on the latest CF deployment Concourse tasks image. So this is all fine now. The jobs are green. NUTS is correctly configured. So there is nothing more to do here. Kabi had a regression. Release notes have been updated to not use some releases. And routing release had an incompatible change. This was also a special notice in one of the last release notes. So yeah, this is all fine, I would say. For the ARDWG Git bot, so when I logged in, GitHub annoyed me and said I would have to configure two-factor authentication. Otherwise, there could be interruptions in 7 days. So there was no chance to postpone it, and I did configure 2FA. The secret for 2FA is now stored as other credentials also in our SAP vault. So unfortunately, not everyone can access this. One reason where you would need to access the account is if a token expires. But currently we only have one, and I have set a reminder, so there should be no need to access the account. We set up a similar account for the ARI working group. That's why I had to look up some settings and copy over stuff. So yeah, this is just if anyone tries to log in and cannot do so, then you have to configure 2FA before. Any questions? Yeah. Okay. Then in CATS, there was a major rack upgrade, but Carsten, you have now fixed this. So the tests were failing consistently because this rewind thing.
It was really only the top change, yeah.
Okay.
This I guess the Sinatra takes used to with rack or with Sinatra prior to 4.0, the request.body, which was a rack 2 object, was required to be rewindable. But as of Sinatra 4, it started using rack 3, which does not require that the request body is rewindable. And we use this rewind function in a bunch of places. So adding this middleware explicitly declares that the request body can be rewound and makes it pass.
Yeah, okay.
There was a few other issues or one other specific issue with Sinatra 4, and that was that you have to explicitly declare rackup as a gem in the gem file. So I manually did that on all the PRs for Sinatra 4, except for the one that's still pending. But yeah, that was the only two. The Ruby one, yeah, this is a big Ruby one. I don't know. This like service broker one, I was tempted to go full refactor mode with it. I was like, nah, it's kind of complicated. The rewindable input fixes it. I'm just gonna leave it.
Okay. Yeah, so tests are running fine again. Thanks for managing all the updates. So there is one more flaky test now from Amelia. No,
I merged that this morning.
Are you already?
Yeah.
This morning? Okay, for you it's morning. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I wanted to give everyone a chance to review this morning. Yeah, to review. I hope it's okay. We'll see if it is now stable enough. So the test provokes some app process ready and also not ready events. And I was wondering how fast the not ready event would appear after you mark the app with a curl as not ready. Not sure. Now we check first the logs and wait for the container failed the readiness health check. And then we wait for the not ready event, but only 1 second if I'm not wrong, with eventually without a timeout. So yeah, well, we can now simply observe if the test is stable or not. If not, it could be necessary to add a few timeouts here and there to wait for the events. Yeah, so I guess we'll see. Yeah. So I had to trigger a few of the cats jobs, but yeah, otherwise that is running fine. Also for Windows now everything is fine. Good. Yeah, so that would be everything from my side. Any other business?
I have a few smaller topics. The first one, just a reminder, I think it's no problem. Next Tuesday, this remove individual repo access will be started. But I think, yeah, the runtime deployments, you should be clean. Yeah, there's no other working groups have more fun next week. Okay, then there's one PR that I filed, 1154, with the database documentation. I guess this one can, can be merged. There's at least, I asked all the working group leads.
Documentation. Okay, I would also give quickly everyone a chance to review. Yes.
Yeah, it's not urgent. It's really only documentation, but from our side, it's so far fine.
Yeah, we wanted to document explicitly which databases and which versions are supported and tested and which ones not. So if you want to comment, but it's just documentation.
Supported in this context, meaning we don't think they're going to work, or we don't test them?
Okay, I phrased it very carefully. So I do not talk about supported databases. I talk about databases that have been tested and linked everything. Then I said which one should work, but they are not tested anymore, but they have been tested in the past. I know it from Postgres because we have been using them. Here, Greg also gave me some feedback that, for instance, you cannot say for all databases in the future, you never know, the next MySQL version could be incompatible. So I put this feedback in. And then I also phrased which won't work. Not supported means they don't use them. And here, MariaDB was explicitly asked that we mention it because it's always slight unsureness whether if you have MySQL, should MariaDB work as well, but it doesn't work. It really doesn't work for the UAA. And also MySQL 5 dot something is not supported anymore. And we wanted to do it because we used one feature in a cloud controller database migration, which is not possible on MySQL when you use a Galera cluster, this table locking. And then we thought, let's make it explicit so that everybody who is involved in database management knows what to support, what to test, and what not. That's all. Good. And then a final topic is more or less first a heads up, but it may cause some work in the near future, or in the future in 2024. The next Ubuntu version is soon to be released. And there are the first discussions, I know from the infrastructure working group, to bring out new stem cells. And also in the application runtime interfaces working group, there's a discussion whether we want to have a CF Linux FS5 type of stack rather soon, every 2 years instead of all 4 years, but that requires also build pack support, etc. If I remember correctly, then Behan will sooner or later file a RFC and start then the discussion. And depending on what comes out, it may then also mean that we need additional validation pipelines as soon as we have done for CF Linux FS4. I think it's well-established processes meanwhile.
Okay.
Yeah, will then come.
So we might need a CF Linux FS5 validation pipeline. No?
Yeah, probably. It would start, of course, first with the stem cell. That one is earlier.
Yeah. And that would be which release now?
It's not listed here yet. It would be 24, presumably.
24 long-term support.
Yeah,
exactly. 2404 long-term support. That is the next version that we would consider.
I guess I'm surprised, given the end of life for Jammy, that we'd start this process again so quickly.
The idea was, I mean, the versions have 5 years support of Ubuntu, and if we do it only every 4 years, then until we have the new stack validated and working and rolled out into productive landscapes, then customers don't have time anymore to migrate. So with CF Linux FS4, I think we offered everything 2 months before the old Bionic went out of maintenance, and it depends on customers. I mean, we still have customers who use a 1-year-old unmaintained operating system for their applications, and they fiercely insist on you cannot switch it off. But on the other hand, there are many customers who say, I want to have the new stack ASAP and want to have some time before it expires to migrate and test. And if we would release every 2 years a new stack and new build packs, at least that work, they are not, it's the same build packs at the end of the day. It would be nicer and would address some customer needs here. That was the idea.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. It also means in the end we have then 2 supported stacks all the time, right? Because we cannot stop then this validating CF Linux FS4. No, that can only be done after it has been it's out of maintenance and gets deprecated.
Right. And hopefully, if we do this more frequently, we can optimize the process and make it more streamlined and actually get better at it. And so
that's right. Yeah. There's
Yes.
also some, let's say, discussion between the new Paketo build packs because they have also a stack, and maybe here is some then coordination or streamlining and some synergy so that we build it only once and not twice. Build packs, yeah, they are different, that's for sure. But
Right.
let's see what comes out.
Okay.
Yeah, these were the 3 points I had on my list. Yeah.
Back coming up. Good. Any other business?
Yeah, I just remembered something.
Yeah.
A while back in one of the Slack channels, David Sabetti mentioned that it seemed like compiled releases had to be recompiled on newer patch versions of a stem cell. And I think Dave and I were like, no, they don't. We compile them with something and then they just work. And he posted some pictures which seemed to show a command where he was using compiled releases with CF, deploying it with the latest stem cell. Because we right now our update-based releases uses a slightly older patch of the latest stem cell, right? And
it's the first patch of whatever the current minor or major is, depending on how you look at it, that we saw in the pipeline.
Yeah, because theoretically you don't have to recompile your releases as long as the minor matches. But David seemed to see some output from CFD showing that there was some recompilation. And I mean, so far, I think that conversation fizzled out and I've just been ignoring it with a note to like look into it in the future. I haven't bothered to replicate it yet or anything like that. One easy way to just ignore it for now would be to bump the stem cell version to the latest patch that our things are being compiled against, or release are being compiled against. Or we could actually go have a look and see if Sabetti's right or if there's something else wrong.
Remind me, when you say he showed output of things being recompiled, was this during a deploy?
Yeah, I think so.
If it's happening during the only thing, so during a deploy, there are some things that are not compiled. Anything that comes in from a Bosch add-on, so the Bosch DNS releases and those kind of things that don't come through the manifest, or basically don't come from our use compiled release ops file, I think will need to be compiled. If he had Windows, then the use compiled release Windows ops file reverts some things because Windows needs to compile separately, and that needs the source.
Yeah, so you said all that in the thread. I don't know if you remember.
Right.
And he posted his deploy command and it wasn't using Windows. And the output showed CC and CF networking packages recompiling, which should be precompiled.
My understanding was that the compiled releases don't have source code and therefore cannot be recompiled. So if something goes wrong and Bosch decides, oh, I need to recompile this, it should just straight out fail, I thought.
So we recompile everything when there is a major version bump, right?
Right.
Minor.
Well, major, minor, whichever. There's only two numbers in the stem cell, so
yeah.
Either way.
Whatever the first one is.
Yes.
So, and this happens only every, I don't know.
That's like a bionic versus jammy.
Exactly.
Well, it's my understanding is whenever the kernel version changes.
Okay.
I think it's the criteria for that bit, for that number.
Okay, good. This is desired. And now deployed with the compiled releases ops file. A bunch of packages got compiled anyway. Sure. Precompile, deploy command.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we just never looked into this.
We never looked into it. Well, we asked him something, he never got back. We forgot about it. I wrote it down to like come back to it later and only just remembered it.
network, which should be,
Oh, right, the diff of the releases section. Yeah.
and which didn't say which stem cell he uses, right? This makes.
No.
Well, I can ask him if this is still an issue for him, and if yes, ask for all the steps on to reproduce. I mean, yes, if you use the use compiled releases ops file, you would expect nothing to be recompiled in general, right?
Yep.
Okay. I can ask him what exactly he did and ask for steps to reproduce, and then we'll see. Steps.
Sure. Oh, yeah. He did. There is a manifest version at the top of the it doesn't have the stem cell, but his screenshot shows a manifest version at the top that gives an indication of the upgrade.
The manifest, yeah, almost.
29.1
Super old to
33.
pretty new.
29 to 33. Okay, we could say you have to deploy all major versions in between.
Yeah.
Keep him busy,
Agreed.
but yeah, still networking, binary build pack.
See, he says that he doesn't have Windows, but why is it compiling the binary build pack
Is a bit
Windows
odd.
2016 there?
Shouldn't it compile either one?
Oh, doesn't it include that for CC? Yeah, doesn't.
But I thought it would only include the Windows build packs if you had a Windows. Is that in the base?
I think so, yes, but
manifest?
and it's only the binary build pack, and
No, you're right, Dave. That is. Well, maybe back in 2033 something, it was.
I mean, of course, it could also
but
be
no, it's not.
something with Bosch has lost some packages, or yeah. Okay, I can ask him if he still has the steps to reproduce, but it looks a bit odd. Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think no one else complained, but yeah. Okay. Can ask him if this is still an issue for him. Okay. Anything else? Okay, if not, we are done. I will update the meeting notes tomorrow, and then most importantly, try to find out who has to do the next step to get the FIPS stuff running. Then have a nice day or a nice evening.
Thanks. Good to see you all.
See you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye.